You are Locked On Tigers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into a live Locked On Tigers Postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma, at Jake_Riepma on Twitter, formerly with 97.1 The Ticket, now with Locked On Tigers Postcast, and fired up to be with you on your destination for all things Tigers in a postcast capacity. We got a lot to talk about today. The losing streak has now reached 3 games after a disappointing 5-4 defeat at the hands of the Milwaukee Brewers. Tigers have dropped the first 2 of this series. We'll talk about Casey Mize's start and how the offense just went silent after putting up 4 runs through the first 2 innings. That's all coming up next on this Locked On Tigers postcast. And as always, thanks for making Locked On Tigers postcast your first listen following the final out. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. And as always, remind you that we're free and available wherever you get your podcast for the audio-only version, whether that be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. You can also check us out on YouTube. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code, all lowercase, use the capital letter, you're in big trouble. It's all lowercase, Locked On MLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And this was the type of game, if you were watching it, enjoying your Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, where you felt like this was going to be a win for the Tigers. You put up 4 runs early. You've got a nice cushy lead. And little by little, and again, this wasn't all on Casey Mize, but 2 more for the Brewers in the 3rd, and then 2 in the 6th. It was off Shelby Miller, but the base runners belong to Casey Mize. And with the offense just going completely silent, 2 hits after that 2nd inning. That's it. And we've seen this repeatedly. It's a movie we've all seen before. We'll get to the comments in just a second on YouTube that even when the offense shows up for a couple of innings, especially, it seems like, and I don't have the exact, count on this, if the offense shows up early for the Tigers, then it's like they just check out the rest of the way and they just take at-bats off, and you can kind of get into this lull of cruise control. And today, or this afternoon, this evening, it cost them. It cost the Tigers the game to score 4 runs in the first 2 innings and finish with 4 runs. And maybe it's excellent pitching from the Brewers. I know the broadcast was talking about how great this Brewer bullpen is, but the fact of the matter is, it's just a mundane offense that has it. Just is so hard to follow this team. It's hard to root for this team. It's hard to be a fan. And I feel for everyone, because we just deserve better. Detroit should be a good baseball town. And this pitching staff, the starting pitching staff especially, is good enough to be what this team used to be, competing for championships. And I talked about that a lot last night, so I don't want to harp on that. But it's another one of those games you're watching and it doesn't have any type of the tune-in factor of a baseball team that yields some kind of desirable traits. What if you were to tell somebody, a random person on the street, I love the Detroit Tigers because why? Because Tarek Skubal? That's about the only answer I can come up with now. So we'll get to the comments right away. David Gustafson leads us off. This team is ass. That's one way to put it. Yeah, I had a similar thought watching this game. It was the game, the way the game unfolded was just inevitable. And I don't want to sound whiny, don't want to sound, like this is a post-game vent session, because, at the end of the day, I think there's bigger things to vent about, or there's worse games. There's times there's more heartbreaking losses, or whatever you want to put it. But it just, you're watching it, there's, 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. This offense isn't even going to sniff putting another run on, and you just felt it unraveling. Word Vanjo says, just dang. Yeah. It's a disappointing loss. Demetrius McNeil, after scoring 4 runs in the first 2 innings, all 0 since then. Brewers bullpen has something to do with it. To avoid that, we need Skubal to step up big time. Well, Skubal's not really in charge of the hitting, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, we do need Skubal to get us a win the next time he pitches. And I believe, let me double check. Is that, and in my, I got to work on my, he goes tomorrow. Okay, good point, Demetrius. That's my bad. Yeah, series finale tomorrow, 1:40 Eastern, first pitch. Tarek Skubal will go against Brees Wilson for the Brewers. And yeah, you got to get a win, avoid the sweep. But it just feels like anytime there's some momentum built from this Tigers team, they just, drop a couple of games in a row, and it goes back to Bob Wojnowski's column. It's just a 500 treadmill. They're going to get a couple games above 500, couple games below 500, get back to 500, and so on and so forth. And so it lacks. It feels like on Saturday, June 8th, it just doesn't feel like there's any type of oomph or maybe, I'm not articulating very well, but it doesn't feel like there's a tune-in factor. There's anything that brings you to want to cheer or root for this Tigers team. And maybe that's too, simple-minded of a take, or I should have more of a take, but, day in, and I don't want to, maybe this is, but I mean, Javi Baez is the worst offensive player that perhaps in the last 100 years. And that's not even hyperbole. It's just, he's so bad. He made a couple of errors today, the throwing error, and the first one didn't cost them because they throw him out stealing the next run or the next batter. But it's just like, he can't be the shortstop of this team anymore. Chris Yelich, I know I've said, not necessarily the most complimentary things of Chris Yelich, but at the end of the day, he owns the team. He just has to eat the cost and get rid of this guy. He has such a negative impact. He's a cancer in the clubhouse. He's the worst player that Major League Baseball has seen in some years. Historically bad OPS, and it's just, we have to watch this guy every single day. And you think that it's going to get better, and it's just not. With Javi Baez, it's just not. Historically bad OPS of 0.456 coming into this game. It might be the worst year statistically at the plate from a position player of all time, and it sounds personal, name calling, whatever it is, but this town just deserves better than to have Javi Baez sporting the Old English D at the shortstop position on a team that's not bad. If this was the historically bad 2003 Tigers team, who cares? But again, you got two legitimate. I mean, Reese Olson got roughed up his last couple of times out, but between Flaherty and Tarek Skubal, you got two of the best arms in the game. And I know baseball, just like every other sport, it takes pieces to the puzzle to be able to win. But an ace like Skubal, Flaherty, Reese Olson, the starting pitching that you have, these types of conversations shouldn't have to happen as often as they do, because it's inexcusable the way this team was comprised, the way that the structure of the offense was put together. It's just so cheap and low level. And again, it's disheartening to say the least. Jason Walter says, gotta love this offense. What offense? But yeah, completely agree. There's a lot to really be disappointed about. It's not a season overs kind of show. It's not a scream into the microphone show. It's just a disheartening blah. 5-4 losers after scoring 4 runs in the first 2 innings. And it's not even like this offense even had any type of semblance of scoring some runs after those first 2 innings. So I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. And I sound like a blabbering moron because I just don't know how else to articulate that. The last 2 games, it's just, 3 games for that matter, because they got blown out in the finale against Texas, and it just, they're not close. And it feels like this is probably what we're going to see more of throughout the course of the rest of the dog days of summer, which could be really, really painful, but I don't want to sugarcoat it. And I don't see anything changing, which is, again, a really, really disheartening component to it all. It's just, this is what we are left to deal with. And I don't know what the right coping mechanism is for that, but we're going to break down Casey Mize's first start. Don't go anywhere. Or his start today, not his first start. I don't even know what I'm saying, but we will look at Casey Mize's final line. There was some encouraging things, some alarming things, but we'll break it all down next. Don't go anywhere. Locked On Tigers postcast is brought to you by Policy Genius. And I know that every conversation about life insurance isn't exactly the most exciting thing to talk about, but you got to know the importance, right? We're all adults here. Life can be unpredictable, and life insurance is what is going to give you peace of mind, especially when so many things can happen outside of your control. What do we always say? Life is unpredictable, but a good life insurance plan gives your family a financial safety net to protect against some of the unknowns. Take it from me. I've had things happen in my life that I'm so glad life insurance was a part of the equation, because again, it is a financial safety net for you and your family, for your loved ones. And Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace that makes choosing the right policy for your family quick and easy. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year, and that's for $1 million worth of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid the unnecessary medical exams. And if you have life insurance already from your employer, you might think that's all you need, but double check that, because not every single employer's life insurance plan gives you all the coverage that you might need. Policy Genius helps you easily compare your options from America's top insurers in just a few clicks, and their award-winning agents can even walk you through the process step by step. Exactly what you need. Policy Genius is trustworthy, and it allows you to compare all the different life insurance options that are out there. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found their best fit through Policy Genius for their life insurance needs. So get peace of mind by finding the right life insurance with Policy Genius. Head to Policy Genius or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. That's PolicyGenius.com. Okay, Casey Mize pitched today, and it wasn't his best outing, and it wasn't his worst either. And if he could have gotten some help from Shelby Miller, it looks a whole lot different in the box score. But alas, he didn't. Casey Mize finishes the game with a 5 1/3, 8 hits, 5 runs, 3 of them earned, because we haven't even talked about that yet. We've got this team making, little league plays out there with the Colt Keith, Akil Baddoo collision in right. And I should have even opened with that, because that's where this team's at. They're making little league mistakes. They're running into each other, and that cost the Tigers some runs in this one. And it's baseball plays that you learn in little league. It's inexcusable. And I don't know how this team, if AJ Hinch is the magician and excellent coach that everybody says he is, why does this keep happening? Because again, there's no excuse for that type of, I'll say it, boneheaded play between Akil Baddoo and Colt Keith. Somebody has to step up, call it out, whether that's Akil Baddoo or Colt Keith. Obviously, the outfielder coming in is an easier play than the infielder going out, but Colt Keith's running until he hears somebody call him off. So I'm not in. I was not on the field. I don't know how that happened, but a big collision instead of an out. It continues the inning. So some tough luck for Casey Mize, but one of the things that's a little bit concerning with Casey Mize, especially in this line, the lack of swing and miss. I mean, he's got the 2 walks, just the 1 strikeout. And at one point, I got to make sure I have this completely correct, but at one point, Casey Mize had thrown 46 pitches with 0 swing and misses. And it's just not good. It's not going to get it done in the bigs. You got to have stuff that fools the opposing hitters. You have to be able to get swing and misses, and Casey Mize did not do that. Now, that said, you look at Casey Mize's production over the course of the entire season, and again, if Shelby Miller makes one pitch and doesn't give up that RBI double in the 6th inning, you walk out of there, Tigers still have a 4-3 lead, but the 2-run double in the 6th, and they were talking about it on the broadcast with Justin Henry Malloy, who is out in the outfield again, getting the start in left. You would think that he could have maybe cut that off sooner and got it in quicker. And then the throw to Javi Baez was on the money, but it would have taken a perfect throw home to get the runner it was Hoskins. That's right. Hoskins and Perkins scored. And the Brewers run so well. That is another thing I'm envious of, is just any guy that gets on base has got a chance to steal second. And Carson Kelly did an okay job at some point, at a couple of points in this game. He threw out one runner, but to have the threat of stealing pretty much every player from 1 to 9 is again something I envy, because this Tigers team, and Dan Dickerson was talking about it on the call, that the Tigers team is actually pretty good at taking the extra base, and there's more to base running than just a compilation of how many stolen bases you produce as a team. And there's a lot of different steps, and the Tigers do okay with that. And the problem is they don't get any base runners because the offense is so bad. But bullpen blows this one. Casey Mize technically gets the loss because those runs belong to him. He's 1-4, 5 1/3, 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 total runs, a strikeout, and 2 walks. But when you look at the rest of the bullpen, that's an area, it's gone from a strength to, again, an area of concern, because Shelby Miller, not great. Foley and Chafin, a little bit better. Chafin gives up just the 1 hit in his 1 inning of work. Jason Foley, pitches through just fine there. In the 8th, doesn't give up a run, doesn't give up a hit. But again, the big moment for the bullpen was that 6th inning. Shelby Miller couldn't get it done, gives up the 2 RBI double, and that's going to be the difference in this game. I don't know how else to really put it. So Tigers have lost the first 2 of the series. Javi Baez at one point, I think, was 4 for 48. I don't know if that's still where he's at since that series in Phoenix against the Diamondbacks, where he actually did break out and looked really good. But since then, it's just, you can't keep playing him. So I think McKinstry's got to play shortstop. I don't mind Gio Urshela at first. Mark Canha in the outfield. I don't know. AJ Hinch is going to tell us what the best lineup is anyways, because what do we know? But the other thing I wanted to add, the bottom of the 6th. So Riley Green gets on with that free pass with the phantom catcher's interference. It wasn't actually catcher's interference, but fortunately the Brewers had already challenged. And so Mark Canha gets up with 2 on and 2 out in a big spot in the 6th. And Mark Canha, this was, I don't know, Scott Harris told us that's our big offseason bat acquisition, so we should be thankful. But Mark Canha doesn't swing the bat in an entire at-bat. He strikes out looking in an at-bat with 2 men on in the 6th inning, where after that at-bat, again, because this offense is so bad, you thought, well, that was our one chance. But I just don't know what happened there with Mark Canha, where he just he had a 3-1 fastball right down the middle and nothing. I just, and that ended the inning. Let me go through the pitch count. Ball 1, ball 2, strike looking on the 2-0. And they talked about that. It was a 4-seam fastball, kind of low and away. Mark Canha wasn't going to do much with it. And so the cutter then missed to make it 3-1. And this is the pitch, the 4-seam fastball at 91 miles per hour, right down the middle. And he just watched it go by. And it was middle too. They always talk about the quadrants of the strike zone. We don't typically get this detailed on a Locked On Tigers postcast, but it was right down the middle. So I don't know what happened there. And then he strikes out looking. with two men on again. So one of them was a gift to get a Riley Green on because it really wasn't catcher's interference, but that was disappointing from Mark Canha. And I hate to cherry pick at bats like that, but when the offense struggles to score as much as they do, when you actually have a chance, you got to swing the bat. I mean, it's baseball. Again, it's Little League stuff. We're talking about Little League stuff. That's what today's show should have been titled. Little League conversation, Little League conversations with the Detroit Tigers, because Akil Baddoo and Colt Keith run into each other. Mark Canha looks at all three pitches. Got to swing. Got to take the bat off your shoulder. Martin Boonstra, no hits for Riley Green in the last 3 games. We need him to heat up, or June is going to be really rough. He seems to set the tone for this offense. Really good point, Martin. We had talked about that because Riley did go through a little bit of a slump, started to get some of it back, and he is one of the pace setters for this offense. And you hate to put so much pressure on Riley Green, but we used to do it with, hey, Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson, right? Those are our young guys. Riley, and now, unfortunately for Riley Green, with Torque now down in the minor leagues, and again, this goes back to the way this team was structured, this way this team was put together. We have a lot to thank for the front office of this team. There's just no hitters. It's all the young guys. And I was actually texting with a buddy about this morning. It's like, I don't know who they think these young guys are, and they being the Tigers front office. Like, they not have the internet. Can they not look up the stats of what these young guys are provided? They're just not good. They're not good right now. The Tigers aren't good. They need some proven players, or otherwise it's just another waste of a season in which Tarek Skubal is having a type of MVP caliber season. I mean, you look at when Verlander won the MVP and Cy Young in 2011, Skubal's numbers are better. And we're just going to go ahead and waste that and same with Jack Flaherty. He's been awesome lately. Reese Olson's been really, really good. Think of what Reese Olson's record would be if we had a competent offense. But instead, we have young players to really put our hope and faith in, like Spencer Torkelson, who, oh, by the way, is in the minor leagues. Jason Walker says Canha looks like Torque. Yeah. No, Torque just pops everything up and flies out. But somebody sent me Torque's numbers in AAA Toledo, which is, it's fine. Like, Torque is going to mash AAA pitching. There's no question that he can't hit bad pitching. He just can't hit good pitching. But he's hitting 438 with a homer and 4 RBI and an OPS at 1.25. So he is mashing. I mean, I guess we got to give him that. But again, it's maybe, although I got to be fair to Torque, we did say, hey, go down, get your confidence back up, build. So he's got at least he's hitting in AAA. We'll go with that, because it wouldn't be fair to say, oh, now look at him hitting AAA, because we hoped that he would at least start to find his swing and whatnot and get some confidence at the AAA level. And it appears that's happening. So we're going to close it out with one more segment and look ahead to the series finale. Tigers lose to the Brewers 5-4, the final in this one. Don't go anywhere. We've got one more segment coming your way. All right, today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. That's right, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports is Prize Picks. You simply pick more, you pick less. It's that simple, and then you watch the winnings come on in. I like to play it all the time now that the NBA Finals are here, as well as, that's right, the Stanley Cup, which gets underway tonight. You can pick more or less. You can get a little crazy with some of the different player props and picking the different stat projections on Prize Picks. You pick more, you pick less. Prize Picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or pick less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. If you're looking for promotions, that's right, Prize Picks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays, because Prize Picks cares about you. That is right. There's always action on Prize Picks, and this is the perfect time to try out something new as basketball's winding down. So make sure you try out esports this month, because for every Wednesday and Saturday in June, your lineup doesn't win, you'll get your entry free back. Choose from Counter-Strike 2, Call of Duty, League of Legends, and so much more. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country. PrizePicks even offers an insurance policy with injury insurance so that your lineup can stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. And for baseball games, if you have a player who registers 2 plate appearances or less, your PrizePicks will have your back and not count that as an entry. How about that, sports fans? Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's downloading the app and using code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, you pick more, you pick less. It's that easy. All right, final segment on the program. Tigers fall to the Brewers 5-4. Now 2 games under 500 at 31-33. Colt Keith leaves the game after the collision with Akil Baddoo. Let's hope Colt Keith is okay. And as I mentioned time and time again, it's just this team really in a rut right now, in a funk. They're just lacking any kind of pizzazz. I don't know. I've got nothing other than it's a tough watch right now. And I think that sometimes the baseball season lends itself to falling into these funks, and there's 162 of these, but man, today was just, I don't know, maybe I'm alone. Let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube still, because maybe I just am being way too negative today and should be more positive, like Kirk Gibson calling in to 97 won the ticket saying, hey, you guys got to be more positive about the Tigers. Well, they've lost 3 games since he did that. And I don't know what there is to be positive about. I really don't. There's just, it's a tough watch. They're making little league mistakes, running into each other. Javi Baez is an everyday player on this team. And he's, again, on pace for an historically bad season, like maybe the worst ever. And today he made 2 throwing errors. And it's like, I mean, what Scott Harris, again, gaslighted us and told us, oh, his defense is so good. That's why he's in the lineup every day. We just can't possibly not have him in the lineup. No, like DFA him, or I know obviously you can't DFA, but just eat the contract and let's be done with it, because he just has such an adverse effect on this entire team. And I don't, since we have so many young, great core players, we don't want that negativity from Javi Baez trickling on down. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think, because it's without having the sky falling and saying this is the worst team ever, it just feels like it's another low point in the season. But one more game against the Brewers, got to find a way to win one game of the series, and then an off day Monday before 3 at home against the Washington Nationals. So that said, I hate to even do the scoreboard watching thing of trying to predict where there might be some wins hidden in this one. So I'm not quite there. But what I am there on is Locked On's 24/7 streaming network. You're going to absolutely love it. It's available on YouTube and on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today, here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. Any last words? Again, if you're watching the live YouTube show, we certainly appreciate it. Certainly appreciate everyone downloading all of the audio-only version as well, and the episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Share it with a friend. Follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma. Always enjoy the Tiger conversation. But that's going to do it for me. As always, this is your one-stop shop for everything Detroit sports postcast. So the post game of every event out there when it comes to Detroit Tigers, Lions, Pistons, we've got you covered. And like I said, it's an honor to be on the air. Really, really appreciate it and enjoy every single opportunity. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Tigers lose to the Milwaukee Brewers. Tarek Skubal goes tomorrow for the Tigers to try to avoid the sweep. Detroit now 31-33. The Brewers 38-26. We'll talk to you tomorrow, 1:40 first pitch. So we'll be on the air at the conclusion of tomorrow's game. Have a wonderful evening, everyone, and we will see you next time on a Locked On Tigers Postcast.